If it's a day called today, we're talking guitars and life.
All right. Well, guys, good to see everybody, man. So we're gonna hang out and talk about audio interfaces, etc. Trying to figure out how to mic ourselves and our guitars when we do videos and live stream opportunities. So on the call tonight, we have my dear brother Sean Plenty O Bass. We have Brant, i.e. Tone Yeager. Man, I almost wore my shirt, Brant, but I failed you,
Oh man,
man.
I need one of your shirts.
Oh, well, the best I can do is give you a link.
Let me put that link out there.
I will put the link out there. And yeah, we got Keith for the love of guitars in the house. So Keith has graciously offered to show us his setup for how he makes his vids and how he mics himself and the guitar and all those things. So I'm gonna hand it over to Keith and we'll see where this goes.
We'll work kind of backwards here. So again, this is my Shure SM57, and I think I was explaining this to Ted. There, you can see the speaker cone in there, like right in the middle. You see that black. The closer you get to this black part right in the middle, the more bass you're gonna have in your tone. The farther along the speaker cone that you point the microphone to, the more treble you're gonna have. So the goal is to experiment with mic placing. Right now, this one's closer to the edge, but I just have this permanently set up right around there and test it out. So right now it's pointing towards the edge of the speaker cone. Um, and then you should be able to just crank the amp as much as you want. This microphone could take it. It's a dynamic mic. So you'll just have to adjust to avoid clipping from either the audio interface itself, which is the next step, or from within the DAW. I'll just call it DAW from now on, or the interface, whatever, audio workstation, digital audio workstation. So from here, I have my XLR cable, and that is running to this is my Behringer. It's what you ordered, I think, Ted, but you ordered the 2 input version. This is the 4 input version. So you'll notice here the XLR cables are running directly into the interface 1 and 2. And I have 1 and 2 there because I have the digital or the dynamic mic, which is the 57 hooked up here. And I'm going to shoot a video today. So I have my condenser mic hooked up as well. So that one's going in, I think the condenser is going into 1 and my dynamic is 2. It doesn't matter. Now, on the back of the interface, I think I've illustrated this on the screenshot in your email. There's a switch in the back that'll allow you to provide phantom power. So if I switch this on, there's going to be another red light down here that indicates to me that the phantom power is on. So that's providing power essentially to anything that's plugged into this audio interface. And that is what is required for a condenser microphone to work. Condenser microphones are crisper, they're clearer, but they're also more sensitive and it requires uh, power. The same way, like some acoustic guitars have built-in preamps in them, and you have to put batteries in them for that to work, plugged into a amplifier. Same concept. In order for this condenser mic to work, it needs some kind of power, and the power is provided through the XLR cable through this interface. So luckily for you, Ted, you bought the Behringer, which is a pretty good price. I bought the 2 input one as a backup to this as well. So far, this one has lasted. I don't expect it to last too long because it's a Behringer, but if it lasts long, then cool. If not, I got a backup. Now, the dynamic microphones do not require phantom power. I'm going to repeat, condensers require phantom power, dynamics do not. So if you're just going to record using dynamic microphones, you don't need to switch on that phantom power. If you're going to have a condenser in the mix, you need the phantom power. That's the 48-volt switch on the back of the interface. So I had to look this up. fairly recently. I looked it up in the past, but phantom power will not kill your dynamic mic. So even though the dynamic mic, which I have is the SM57, does not require that power, putting that power on does not hurt it. It's safe. That's from what I've read, and basically it will ignore that power and work as normal. That thing that worried me because I was always going to use a condenser mic and a dynamic mic in tandem, and I didn't want to mess up my 57. And I looked it up first. Yeah, it's fine. That's how I've been recording everything. Um, okay, so let me think here. I have that plugged in. Okay, so everything is plugged in here. The condenser mic and input one, input two, and I'll kind of zoom in here and I'll tap my. You see that light blinking? I'm tapping the condenser or the SM57. That is showing me that I'm getting input via sound. I'm tapping it now, but if that light turns red, that means it's clipping. Clipping is bad, and we want to avoid that. So you're going to have to kind of ride the knob to kind of figure out based off of how loud you're playing so that way you don't clip. I don't actively look at this when I'm recording to look for clipping. I'm looking in my computer. So what I want to demonstrate now is I'm going to put my phone down, switch the audio to my computer, and share my screen. And I'm going to open up Reaper, which is equivalent. So uh, we'll roll through that real quick. So I'm going to mute this. This might take a second.
Hey, Brent, do you have any questions so far about the audio interface or anything?
So the Behringer that you guys are getting, what exactly, what are you, it's just a mixer, right?
Yeah. It's an
Okay.
audio interface. Oh gosh, it's a USB audio interface is
Okay.
what it's
And
called.
then from there you're just USB right into your
Oh,
laptop.
I forgot
or
to
whatever.
mention that. Exactly. On the back of it, it's kind of like the same printer USB cable. Maybe nowadays they sell them with USB-C, which is probably better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that goes directly to my computer. I forgot to mention that.
Okay. And then from there it's just your choice of DAW interface, right?
Exactly. And I'm gonna share my
Okay.
screen now and
Sure.
bring that
Thanks,
up.
Ted, for letting me ask.
You bet. I got a question. I've got a couple. I'm going to sit on them for a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let me hide this. Disable it. Hide floating menu controls. There we go. All right. So this is Reaper. You can see the screen. Okay. And you can hear me. All right. So this is Reaper. I don't have a Mac. I can't afford a Mac now. I would prefer one, but this is what I have and I work with it. Reaper essentially is the same thing as Logic or GarageBand. Just different. It looks a little differently, but if you could add a new track, so I'm going to insert a new track. I'm going to insert two of them, one for my dynamic mic and one for my condenser mic. So I think this is the same. It should be very similar to GarageBand. And I think when I first started getting GarageBand, you were only allowed to record one input at a time. I think they've since allowed you to record multiple, so you'll be fine, Ted, with using GarageBand.
Yeah, I think maybe you have to pay to get the one that allows you to do multiple track. The one that I downloaded, I can only do one track at a time, but I'm still exploring that, so I could do
Yeah,
it.
it's worth Googling that one because Reaper is another option. This is free. So this is a software that's free, and I think the license for it is maybe 150 bucks. But I'm not paying that yet. I will eventually pay it because I like the software and I want to support them. But I'm sure this is available for Mac too. If that doesn't work, don't spend money if you don't have to. That's my motto, right? The only negative is whenever I open Reaper, it tells me 5 seconds. It makes me wait 5 seconds. It says, "Hey, do you want to buy it or you want to keep on evaluating?" I just wait the 5 seconds, hit still evaluating, and just do everything like normal. So I added these two tracks here. I'm going to arm them both. And then right here underneath, it'll allow you to select your input. So I'm selecting input 1 for this first track. That's my condenser mic, and you can hear me talking. And my condenser mic is right up here. Can you see me or can you see the screen? I don't know.
We can see both you and the screen.
Okay,
You're small. You're
gotcha.
Reaper's big. You're little, but we can
All right.
see you.
So my condenser is right up here, and if I snap my fingers, you can see how that. And you see that clip right there, that the red right here.
Yep.
I'm gonna unclip that. So that's what I want to avoid. So before I do that, I'm gonna set my second input to input 2. This is my guitar amp. So now you're gonna notice input 2 doesn't have right here. It doesn't have quite as much of a. It's not picking up as much sound, which is what I want. And from there, I can just hit record. So let me just experiment here real quick. So all right. So if I hit record here, all right, I'll just save those and then play back. It's coming out of my headphones now, but basically what I wanted to show you there was that when I'm looking through this, if anything does clip, it'll mark that red up here at the top and stay red. I know I'm in trouble. I need to re-record or readjust my levels there. So let's say this is a good take. All right, I got it. I think in Logic, Apple Land, they have this thing called bounce the track. Here's called render. So what I'm gonna do here is hit that render button, name it TED Talks, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and render the file, and that'll export it into a file. Where did it go? Right here. Oops. Oh, it's just something.
I have to say I really enjoyed TED Talks tuners.
Here it is. So tuner is, I spelled it wrong, but either way, this is my WAV file. So that is what got created when I hit render. That has both of those tracks bounced into one single audio file. So, and let's say I was talking on track 1, my voice would be up here, and anything I played on guitar would be here. But essentially, my guitar is going to show up on both of these because the condenser mic is picking up everything in the room, and the microphone that is picking up the amplifier is mostly picking up just the guitar. So what I like to do at this point,
I would like to make sure that's when you're done with it, you would save it as a WAV file and bounce the 2 tracks down into 1 track.
yes,
But when you're still editing the vocals and the guitar and adding things in and cutting things out, you wouldn't bounce it down yet, right? You're still not to that point, right?
correct. This is kind of like a speedy version, but yeah, what I would normally do here is I would, I guess, yeah, so that's a good point. I'll bring it up here. So what I'll do here is on track 1, I know that's where my voice is. I'll go ahead and open up the effects, and I'll do a little bit of EQing directly for voice. And this is all dependent on what you get with GarageBand or Logic or Reaper, what comes with it. You can buy plugins, but yeah, for this one, I'll just find something in here for EQ. I will maybe add some, what is this, a compressor to it if things are weird. I don't really mess too much with the voice stuff. With the guitar track, I definitely do like to add a little bit of dynamics, so like, or actually reverb. I like to add some reverb to it. That's a bad one. Yeah, here's a good one. So this has a bunch of different like reverb things. If I'm doing an acoustic guitar, I'll start with this acoustic in the mix and just mess around there. This is all to taste. Once I'm satisfied with everything, I bounce everything into the one track.
And you can do those effects separately on each channel, correct?
That is correct. You could do, like right now, anything that I hit for this channel and with this button is just going to affect this channel. So let's say I add an EQ there, and then that's whatever this is. I'm just adding random things. Okay, all these things are on that track one. And if I go down here, they're not there, just those two. If I go back here and look at these, so they're unique to the track you assign it to, and that should be across any of the DAWs that you work with. And when I'm mixing the audio and video, audio for a YouTube video in particular, I don't mess around too much with the effects. I just get something I like, and I don't do any editing within the audio track at all. I just leave the one long take, and there's a reason for that. The one long take, if I'm satisfied with it, let's say I did 5 minutes and it came out awesome, but then I fumble over my words for 2 minutes, but then I recover and I didn't stop recording, I'm still going to keep all that mess in. Because when it comes time to sync the video to the audio, if you made cuts and edits in the audio, it's never going to sync with the video. So what you want to do is export everything as one big audio file and put that into the DaVinci Resolve or iMovie or whatever you want at the same time, and then sync it up within there. Then you can make all your edits together. Last thing you want to do is record your audio, get it to sound good, clip it up, and then try to match it up with the video. It'll be a nightmare. You're not going to get it done. So that's the way I do that. Now, let me think here. Let's say this was one full take. And, oh, okay, let me back up here. So I arm everything. I have everything set up to record. I have the levels fine. I did my tests. I know I'm not clipping when I'm playing loud. I know my voice sounds fine through all my tests. I'm ready to rock and roll. I have my phone up on the tripod and it's all set up. Okay, I'm ready to go. What I do is I hit record on the DAW first, then go over to my phone and then hit record on the video. I do it in that order. I don't know why. I think I do it in that order because there's more space on my computer than on the video on my phone. So I don't want to take up. I want to take up as little space on my phone as possible. So I hit record there, then I hit record on the phone. This is the important part for me, at least. Once you hit, you do a couple hand claps. You know, Keith teaching pentatonic scale, take one. Hi, my name is Keith. Blah 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 blah. I'll just randomly say that. It'll allow both me and the video editing software to sync up that audio with that clap. Now, Brant, I was in Plenty of Bass. I don't know your first name, but I was explaining this to Ted. That's equivalent to when you're making a film. You know, they have the clicker. You know, scene 1, take 32, and action. They do that click so that all the microphones are in the studio could sync up to that one click. So they go in there into the waveforms, they get all their audio together, they sync everything up. Same idea. Same exact idea here. You do that, then we're good to go. So once I'm done with the video, I'll put it on my computer. I just take my USB-C and put my iPhone into my laptop and I just copy them over because the whole iCloud sync thing takes hours. I'm not going to sit here and wait an hour for my stuff to upload to iCloud and then pull it down to my computer. I was able to, you can just plug it directly into your computer, whether it's PC or Mac, copy and paste the file over, and then you're good to go. So, are there any questions up to this point before we kind of move into the video side of it and syncing the audio?
I think the only question I have, Keith, is you said that the condenser mic would pick up the dynamic mic, i.e. the guitar, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
how do you strike that balance of not hearing the guitar so much so that it does not interfere with the voice or create a weirdness between the two guitar tracks? That
I think the answer to that question is two things. A, luck, and B, it just works. I don't know. That was the biggest thing that kind of concerned me whenever I was starting to do this. I was like, how do I separate those two?
yeah.
I just plugged them both in, hit record, and then bounced everything and synced it up with my video, and lo and behold, it just worked. You know, it because I'm not really, even if I was singing and playing at the same time, it's still gonna primarily, the condenser is primarily gonna pick up my voice. Mostly what I'm doing is playing my guitar, stopping, talking, doing an example, stopping, talking. Even if I do talk at the same time, the bleed in is not an issue. So
Hmm.
it really isn't. So, and the dynamic mic that I have in front of the amplifier is not really picking up that much of my voice. If it is, it's so faint that it doesn't really matter. And
Hmm.
once you bounce these two things, because when you're doing this record, I'm still sharing my screen. So if you're doing the record, these are perfectly synced. They're getting recorded at the same time.
Hmm.
So you're not going to get any weirdness as far as like echo or delay or reverb, weird things like that when you're doing it this way, because these are just synced. Now, if I take this track and I moved it over like that, yeah, it's going to be messed up. But I don't want to do that. Make sure that's synced up, which is important, that these are perfectly synced when you export it. So don't accidentally click and drag when it's over.
Well, I did notice on the just visually, the voice track appears to be louder than the guitar
Right.
track.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the reason for that is, let me just that bigger. The reason for that is the condenser mic it's more sensitive, right? So the microphone for the amplifier is right there in front of the speaker. It's meant to take high volumes.
Mhm.
And that is not the case with the condenser mic. That is going to take it'll hear a pin drop if you cranked up the input volume or the input for it if you want. Whereas the 57 is not going to hear that pin drop as easily. It still will, but it won't. But yeah, so I do find when I'm recording the guitar on with the dynamic mic with the 57, and I still have the condenser mic hooked up. Sometimes the condenser mic one is just as big as far as the volume is than that. But what I like to do is the mix down. For example, if I'm hitting play here and I'm noticing that on this track here, this is I think my dynamic mic. It's getting more of the sound here, but I'll just kind of what I end up doing a lot is raising the volume on the instrument. And the key here is I like to see there's going to be bleed in, Ted, and
Mhm.
it really doesn't affect it too much. It's the one that's in front of the amplifier is going to be more prominent when you're playing the guitar, to answer that question. Um, while we're on the subject of volume, the rule of thumb that you want to abide by, YouTube, I think their max decibel is -12, I believe. You can see this 12 right there. So if you have things that go higher than that, for example, like let's say some of these peaks were up here at the 15, or oh, okay, this is -6. Okay, right over here, this is 0, and I think there's something in between. I don't know. Basically, it's easier to see in DaVinci than here. I don't know why, but basically, it's going to compress. YouTube will compress your audio, so if it's too loud, it'll just lower the audio on your video. If it's too low, it's not going to raise the audio. So you want to make sure that you hit that -5 number, or at least close to it as consistently as possible without clipping. And it'll be more illustrative. How do you say that? When I open up DaVinci Resolve here, which I'll go ahead and do because I think the decibel meter is a little easier to read on that.
Hey Keith, what is your amp set on in the room?
Oh, so this is a small amp. Let me switch this on. Is it not allowing me to switch? Oh, I'm just looking at myself.
Look at all those videos of Keith.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I'm gonna hang up the phone for now because I don't think that's gonna work. But we did most of the stuff um with the phone for the close-ups earlier. So the amp that I have set up here, I usually keep that thing at about 2 or 3, between about 3.
Okay.
It's a small amp. It gets loud enough, and it's not. I play clean, so
Yeah.
it's just the way I play. So even then, it gets pretty loud. If I wanted to crank it, I could. I'll just have to adjust on the knob on the actual interface to compensate for that. But have it as loud as the thing is, you want it as loud as you want to set your tone to what you want it to sound. It doesn't matter what the volume level is. If it sounds great at 2, then record at 2. Make sure you adjust to compensate. If it sounds great at 9, 10, or 11, then set it to that. Get your desired tone and then adjust the microphone and levels accordingly so that it doesn't click. That's the rule of thumb. I like to leave mine at about 3. That's just what I'm used to. And then, you know, I mean,
Okay.
does it sound bad when you're watching my videos? I don't know. I'm my own critic. I don't know. I'm like, all right, that's good enough.
Well, that's helpful because I would think that if the amp were in the room with the two mics going, I'd want the amp on a low volume, which sounds like what you've got rocking there.
Yeah, I do have it on a lower volume, and it does bleed into the vocal mic. But I have found that even when I do crank it, it's not really a huge deal. It doesn't really mess with anything.
Cool.
It's worth experimenting. I mean, this is the fun of it is experimenting with all this stuff and
Yep.
seeing what works and what doesn't. Um, I'm gonna open up this project here for uh, the last long video I did over here. Okay, now this is the only video editing software that I can use with a PC, and it's good. I mean, again, I've never used Premiere, which I think that's what you use iMovie, right? So I don't know. I can't really help too much with the video editing stuff. Um, but I
No, yeah, I have DaVinci Resolve as well. I haven't taken the time to really learn it. The only thing I don't like about it is right now how the two tracks do not visually line up. That always throws me off.
um, like
Maybe there's a way of seeing them together that I don't know about. Like, oh, I don't know that. You make it look so easy, Keith.
so. This is well. Um, I had to learn it. Yeah, this is the cool one. This is the first time I ever did this, where I had. I mean, it's big. I was just experimenting, and I was kind of weaving in and out of me talking and playing the guitar with the sounds and all that. So I have 2 audio tracks stacked on top of each other, so they're both playing at the same time. Um, but that's not what. That's more advanced stuff that I'm still learning. But back to basics here. Whenever I'm importing, let's say I have the video shot, it's on my computer now, and I have the audio that it's bounced into the one wave file. I'll drag those over into my project, and this is, I don't know what the equivalent is to Apple stuff at this point, but I could just say this is our media pool. So all the media that we're going to use for the track, I dump in here. And then this is the editing side. I could still look at the media pool here. So what I do is I say, hey, I labeled this video here intro, and here's the intro waveform that I bounced from Reaper. So I have the video here and I have the audio there. I click both of these. I control click them. I think on Apple it's Apple click, and then right click, and then I hit auto sync audio. That's important. That's the important one. Take note of that. So I know. That's why I label them this way. This one's intro, intro. This one's main, main. So this video is gonna match up with that audio. This one's gonna match up there. So I'll put, main, main, auto sync audio, and then I click. I don't know what the other options are. I always click waveform, and it says right here, it gives me an option to retain embedded audio. I think what that will do is take and keep the audio from the camera, and I don't want that audio. I only want what I recorded with my microphones. So this is going to take the audio from that bounced waveform, attempt to sync it to the video. So if I hit that sync button, it'll run through this, analyze. Okay, it worked. It didn't give me an error. That's when I'm like, thank goodness, right? Because if it didn't work, then I'm gonna have to manually go in and zoom in and match the waveforms with the video, and that's a headache. And I wouldn't want anybody to have to do that. So there's ways to kind of alleviate that from failing based off of personal experience. The longer the video you have in one take, the more likely it's going to fail to sync, because computers, because the video from my phone is capturing at microseconds faster or slower than the audio from my interface, and over time that is going to go out of sync. So if I have a 30-minute long video and I'm trying to sync that with the audio from a 30-minute long audio clip, it's probably not going to work. So I tend to record an intro first, and then export that, put it in my video software, and then I'll do a main thing. And I try to keep myself under 15 minutes, which is good for me because I was making really long videos. This is making me more conscious to make my videos shorter. So I try to make my videos about no more than 15 minutes. And one recording thing, like one recording session, video and audio, no longer than about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, so that way I don't mess up with the sync. Because the syncing messes up, then oh boy, I'm in here all night trying to match the audio and the video, and that's not fun. I did talk to Brian. I got a lot of pointers from him, but he uses Apple too, so he might know a lot more of the Apple resources than I can give you. But he told me that there is an option to auto sync the audio and video, and he does that on his end too. And he's mentioned the same thing where he would sit there and try to match the waveforms to what the waveforms are on the audio from the camera. He says it's a pain in the ass too, so it's not a problem exclusively to Windows or Mac. It's just the nature of the beast. Any questions so far?
So on that point of which software, if it's like you said, the nature of the beast of trying to sync those things, and I was thinking about some of mine and some of Ted's longer takes, and if that would be a problem. But you wouldn't necessarily need to sync audio, like when Ted's working on a guitar. It would only be when you'd want to do it like when he's playing the guitar. Is that, do you agree with that, or am I on the right track there in thinking?
That's a philosophical question. If it was me, if it was me, I would record everything the same way. I'm always going to record. I mean, I guess, yeah, it depends on the project. If you're doing work on a guitar and you know that you're only going to use the video for that particular thing, and maybe you're going to narrate something and put that over it, then yeah, you can do that separately. But when you're doing the audio and video, speaking into the microphone, or if you're playing, then I would do all of them at once. Um, Whenever I did that amplifier video that you watched, Brent, about when I switched the tubes out, I only had my condenser mic there. I could have very well just used my phone for everything, but I used the condenser mic because A, I wanted to get a good clear audio, so you can see what was going on with the amp, and B, it just sounds better. So I'm never going to use my phone audio. I use it for shorts because I don't want to hook everything up when I'm making shorts, um, but yeah, I don't know, the philosophical, Brent.
Yeah,
But
I'm trying just to use, the things that I already have.
yeah,
And like I have the lapel mic
yeah.
for the phone, which is the audio I think is okay. Where I'm having trouble is trying to use that with when I'm playing guitar.
So this was my thing. I wanted to get to buy this whole thing as cheaply as possible. There's very successful guitar people out there that only use their freaking iPhones to record everything. But then again, these are professional studio musicians from Nashville, so people are gonna follow them regardless how crappy their videos are. So what I did was I went on Amazon and I bought this, lapel mic set for like 20 bucks or 30 bucks. It's crappy. And it hooks up to your phone. You probably have one of these too. This hooks up either Lightning or USB-C to your phone. It doesn't work good. I don't use it anymore. And I even bought one of these, a couple of these. This is Ceramonic, and this will hook up directly to your iPhone. This one's Lightning, which now my phone is USB-C, so I can't use it anymore. But I tried even this. It doesn't sound good. Nothing's going to sound as good as using real microphones and a real interface, and it's just a fact. Unless they make Rode, I think, makes like dynamic and condenser mics that you can hook up to professional things, but those things are like 300 or 400 bucks. I don't have that money. So I don't know. Like, the best bet is mic up the amplifier and then get a good condenser or a good lapel mic. Now, as far as syncing the audio, if you were to take your iPhone, if that's how you're hooking it up, then you could theoretically, like, I haven't tried it, but if I do the whole sync audio and video, I gotta go here to do it, and then hit retain, then I think it will take everything that is in that was captured with the phone, that audio plus the extra audio from your amp. That'll work too if you want to try that. So that way, that'll save you money on buying an extra microphone for your vocals. But that's just the way I do it, and I think it's fun. I don't know. I love doing this. I love the setup. I love um, the editing, and I love recording and all this stuff. So it takes time, but I think it's fun to do. And it's doing it the way it kind of should be done.
Could you go over the compression on the audio track again, and show how to fine tune that?
This guy here.
When you were in the effects section and you added
Oh, yeah.
compression to the audio track.
Okay. Yeah. So I let me do this here. I'm gonna open up a recent project, just so I could see what I did. Hey, modify. Let's go to targeting reports. All right. Okay. So yeah. So this one right here is this one should be the vocal. Okay. So what I did here for the EQing, I hit, and this is going to differ based off of what DAW you're using. So I just what I do. There's nothing scientific about it. I just pick something that looks like, hey, this one says vocals in it. I think there's another one in there that says background here, clear vocals, full vocals. I'll just run through each of these and see, and let it play in the background and see how it sounds until I find something that sounds good. If I want to sound manlier, I'll bump up the bass. If I'm too bassy or too low, then I'll just EQ it that way.
That's the EQ part. Do you have the compression?
Yeah, so the compressor, again, same thing. I'll just pick something randomly, either modern vocal, aggressive, or background, and see how it sounds. And if it sounds good, I'll just tinker around until I find something that I like and um, roll with it. I don't like to personally mess with the vocal stuff too much. I'm more concerned that I'm speaking at a high enough volume that whoever's watching the video doesn't click off the video because they can't hear it. Because that's frustrating when you have to turn your phone up or your volume on your computer, and then you watch the next video and either it's too low or you have it too high, and you're like Marty McFly when he turns on the guitar amplifier and Back to the Future, it's like blown out. But um, for vocals, I like to keep that as clean as possible. For the guitar part, I also typically like this one. I don't have any effects on my guitar part. Um, yeah, there's no effects on that. So I do put effects on the guitar for like the intros. Some of the intros that I do, I will go in there and add compression, which is dynamics. I'll add some kind of compression in there. And I always start out with something in here that will kind of fit what I'm doing. So right here, there's never anything in here that, like right here, fader. This is me every day doing this stuff. I just try to find everything that I look. Here's a mastering stuff. Oh, look, here's a DS. So let's say I'm talking into the microphone and it's picking up pops and plosives and all that stuff, sibilants, and I want to take those S's out. Then I can put that on there. It's just a ton of stuff. I like to leave a lot of the stuff dry as possible and concentrate on the levels more. Here, for the guitar part, I don't think I really. I guess I put compressor on there. No, this is I just messed with this just now. Yeah, I didn't have any effects on there before for the guitar part, but yeah, that's all personal preference, really. The main thing when you're mixing the stuff here for me for the YouTube videos to make sure I don't clip any of the tracks. That is the main concern that I have. And even if you do clip something, it's not the end of the world. It just it's not sound as good for that one little part, but we just don't want that to happen in general. And in DaVinci, if you go to the audio here, I actually like this. They give you different options for effects. So if I go onto, let's say, track 3, this effects guy there, there's a whole bunch of different audio effects that I can get. So I have a preset reverb right over there. So Palin demo reverb. I always use this reverb model within DaVinci for whenever I do those in-store like guitar demos that I do from in the music shop. I have this just made for reverb there, and then some of the effects I did for that intro, the For the Love of Guitars intro that I just recently started adding. I think I added some weird effect from in here. It had that like echo type of deal there. I just did a couple of things on my acoustic guitars and then messed with it to make it sound as cool as I could for that 5 second little clip. So you could, I think that DaVinci, at least for audio, does have more options for things like voice. It's meant for video and audio. So this one has a de-esser built in here. De-hummer, hey Brent, that's what I can use for my amplifier that's humming all the time. I think I threw the delay on there. Echo's cool. I think there's another. Yeah, so here's a vocal channel guy here. What does that do? Let's see. All right, well, I don't know what the vocal does. Maybe it makes vocal sound better. I don't know, but yeah, the point here is there's different options. You could do a lot of your editing in whatever DAW you want. If you want to send it raw, you think it's good enough, which it should. Look, you dial in your good tone on your head, you shouldn't have to mess with it, right? Export that puppy. And then if you want to add some reverb post, you could do that. But just once you get your stuff into your video editing software, that's it. You don't want to have to re-import and resync, and you already cut up your edits and did all that. Just make sure that you're happy with what you put in there and sync it before you make your edits in here. So um, let me shrink this down. So these are all my edits. Every one of these little lines here is an edit I did. If I would have made these edits prior to syncing them up, they would never have sunk up. So that's why this right here is a 10-minute long. Let's say it's a 10-minute long video. In actuality, before I edited it down, it was probably like 15 minutes. It shrunk down to there. So I sunk everything up first and then did my edits.
So it looks like, Keith, that you can adjust. I even saw compression in your effects here in Reaper. So it looks like you can make those kinds of edits pre-bounce and post-bounce in Reaper.
Yeah, you can. Now, Reaper is meant purely for audio, so the plugins are going to be better there. It supports these things called VSTs. You can buy a VST, which is essentially an audio plugin. You can buy it from anywhere that offers good plugins. This is what professionals in the professional studios do. They use these plugins, and they're interchangeable. It's a .vst file, I believe, and if you buy it once, you could use it on a Mac, you can use it on a PC, you can use it probably on Linux, anything. It's just a file type. So it's mainly made for audio. So if I wanted to record a studio quality track and I had the talent and I knew what all these knobs do, the best bet to get a good sounding song would be in Reaper. You're not going to get a good sounding song in DaVinci or what is it? Whatever it is that Mac has. You're not going to, the video recording software. Those are meant for video. You know? Now, again, there is audio stuff that you could do here. It's not as robust. That's a good word for it. The stuff that you're going to get for audio is more robust in here.
Yeah, because it seems like in the DAW you're actually editing the signal of, if that's the right word, of the voice channel and the guitar channel, but in DaVinci you're really just augmenting the video settings related to those audio files.
DaVinci could do a lot. I don't want to short sell it because
It's fun.
I probably only know 2% of the software, enough to get me to make videos. If I hit this tab here with this music notation, this is purely for audio editing. And I'm sure that this is a Fairlight effect. This probably supports the same VSTs as Reaper.
Okay.
So you could do a lot of stuff here. And when I'm doing my videos, and this is actually a good segue because I wanted to show you where I said -5. Remember that decibel level? So you'll be able to hear me there. So right now that one peaked at 15. I think YouTube will peak at -12. So anything that is higher in volume, YouTube will just compress it down so it's that one level there. So if I can keep my audio and video close to this -5, the rule of thumb that I've read was just try to get it to -5, everything. So if I'm recording this, so I see my voice is too low there, I think I already see that I adjusted this up pretty high. see, what, see that one peaked right there at about -8. So I want to put this in a certain place to where I can get it as high as possible throughout the whole video without this right here marking red. I clicked. So that's where I ended up there. And then I think, I don't know what audio one is. Maybe that's my guitar track. One of them. No, it's not a guitar. They're all bouncing to one. So I think one of them, this one's for my intro, which was mainly the guitars. You can see the intro there. So this one I had lower because I recorded at a higher volume. Oh, there it is. See, that's right there flipping. I guess I let that one go, but it still sounded good.
Hmm.
It didn't really. When it clips, you'll hear like static. I didn't hear static. That's what I meant by sounding good. I mean, well, your ears
Very cool stuff, man.
and there's just so much that you can do in there. Like, I'm just scratching the surface. Like I'm really like I love this whole effect here where you can just talk and then switch and then keep the audio from both one take and the speaking and switch between video and audio. I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna try that again tonight with the video. There's just so much you can do, you know. But look, the main thing is you get that interface. Um, when you think about it, it's really not that difficult. You just have somebody to show you, but you get the interface, you get your microphones, microphone cable. It's a big initial investment. You get good stuff, like the condenser mic, I think was 150 bucks maybe. You can go cheaper than that. You don't even need a condenser for vocals. You could use, here, I got another mic here. This is a SM58. You could use this for vocals. This is a dynamic mic. This is 100 bucks, and this is what people use on stage for singing. So this is, and people also, Tom Petty sang into an SM57, so you could use that for vocal mics too. Whenever you see a press conference with the president of the United States, forever, like from the 60s even, they're using SM57s for their microphones and their press conferences. So that's how reliable and how much of a stalwart, so to speak, those microphones are, and the 58s as well. So you don't have to get a condenser mic. I say cheapest best, but if you want quality, I would stick with the 57, a decent condenser mic. You're gonna need at least two XLR cables to plug into your audio interface, microphone stands, the audio interface. So once you have those, it's just plug everything in. Beat DAW, that should be free because if GarageBand doesn't allow you to do two tracks at the same time, Reaper does, and that's free. Just gotta learn it. And DaVinci's free, but it might be worth investing. The point is it's going to be an investment at the beginning, but it'll be worth it. You can use these things to record music, man.
How you feel, Brent?
I feel like I gotta stop buying guitars and start buying audio equipment.
Yeah, that's exactly the thought I had the other day.
Well, I mean, how much was that Behringer that you got? Was it like 80 bucks or something?
Yeah, I actually didn't order it yet. I may or may not have ordered a cheaper version that didn't work, so I just sent that back on Amazon today.
Yeah.
But Sean and I were looking at one today. I think it was 89 bucks. It was a Behringer 2-channel something. Amazon and Sweetwater were comparable.
I think the 2-channel was like 35 bucks or something, and there was a 4-channel was 89.
Yeah, that's the one we were looking at, Keith. Euphoria.
This is the same one that I have, Well, I mean, I have this. So what happened was the one that I showed you earlier is my 4 channel. It's the same exact one, but it's 4 channels. I bought that and then it didn't work out of the box. So I was able to return it to Amazon and replace it with another one of the 4 channel ones. Um, and this is years ago, years, like maybe 8 years ago. And I got that one, and then I just went ahead and bought this one because it was so cheap. I think it was like $50 when I bought it, just to keep as a backup. Because Behringer, they make cheap stuff, but it's worked. And the cool thing is the preamps has that phantom power built in, and this one does too. You see the 48-volt thing, the light there. That's the phantom power, and there's a switch on the back that you flip it on, flip it off. That's the phantom power I was talking about. So yeah, this one's good. This is what I use. It's good. Another one, I'll go grab it.
Yeah, Sean, I think the Behringer Euphoria UMC22 was only 1 channel. The 2 channel shoots up to $70.
Well, that cheaper one, it had one XLR and it had 1/4 inch, so you could plug the guitar like
Oh
output
yeah,
the
I
output
see.
from your pedal board in the 1/4 inch, and then the XLR would be for your microphone.
I
Got
would
it.
recommend this because this will accept an XLR and a 1/4 inch.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So if you want to go direct input, this is the best bet. Um, I mean, I don't like spending money, but this is something that if I was gonna do everything over again, I probably wouldn't have bought the 4 channel input. I mean, I bought that because I was in a band and we were gonna record and I needed the extras. But now it's just me. I would have just bought this guy here because I'm never gonna need more than 2 inputs. This is gonna accept XLR and 1/4 inch. So this is what I would roll with, something like that. These here, Focusrite. This is the one that Brian sent to me. I won this.
Hmm.
So I guess I got 2 backups now. But the Behringers I bought like 8 years ago, and then this one I just won. I haven't tried it yet, but I think Brian was using. These are expensive. I think this is. I don't know. You have to look it up, but these are not cheap. So I'm surprised that he wanted to get rid of it, but I don't know. Um, but yeah, I would recommend a 2 input one. Behringer's fine, and the warranty it worked. I mean, I got a new one when mine didn't work. I think it was the power supply or something, or maybe I just didn't know how to use it. I think that's what it was. I was like, why isn't this working? I need a new one, and they sent me a new one, and I was like, okay, it's been working. But, I have read that some of the Behringers will work for a few months, and then for some people it just stops working. So I just got paranoid, and bought an extra one. Um,
But you're saying you've had yours for like 8 years
yeah,
or a
but
while?
I haven't used it really. I had it for 8 years, and I recorded a couple things, and I just set it aside until I started this YouTube thing last year. So as far as so far, it's been holding up fine. It's being put to light use. I mean, I use it once a week when I record my videos, and that it doesn't stay on for more than a couple hours. So, but yeah, the Behringer, that's the cheapest best that you can get in my opinion. It's not going to be as good as the more expensive ones, but it's good enough. I mean, nothing sounds good on YouTube. It's not audio file quality, no matter what you do. So you don't want to spend $10,000 on recording gear where it's going to make it sound good for an iPhone on an iPhone speaker.
So toward that end, you want to stop sharing
Oh yeah,
your big screen? I mean, you could do whatever you want, bro. It's your call. So toward that end, are all XLR cables created equal? What? That's
I so
open question.
I am not qualified to answer that. Um, I I just get the cheapest XLR and guitar cables I can get because I don't know people with guitar cables. You see people buying a guitar cable for 150 bucks. I'm like, there's what is that going to do for you?
Hmm.
You know, they're all made the same in my opinion. It's kind of like I watched this video of a guy that has his music store in New Hampshire, and he does really good videos. And he's saying it doesn't matter what cable you get. You know, they're all essentially going to accomplish the same thing. It's a question of how much shielding you want. All right, do I have power generators in my room that's going to cause electromagnetic stuff? No, I don't. I live in a house just like everybody else. A normal cable doesn't need to be sheathed in anything special for me to accomplish what I'm accomplishing.
Hmm.
Um, the Behringer that I got came with two XLR cables, and that's what I use.
Oh, I didn't even look to see if the two channel one came with cables.
Yeah, they make them in bundles, and they might make them with a bundle with a microphone or with cables, but this one came with those cables, and I use that. I have cables in my closet over here that are I've probably owned for 20 years, and I got some of those that people gave to me, and those who knows how old those are, probably as old as I am. You know? So,
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a professional when it comes to that. Personal experience, it doesn't matter for me, at least.
No, it was cool, man. It's kind of the equivalent question about like uh audio interfaces. We don't want to go cheap. We want to spend a little bit of money. So I was just asking the equivalent question about the cables, but
Yeah, I mean
not that
that
I'm trying to save 5 cents because I'm not
yeah,
trying to save 5 cents. I was just
the audio interfaces that we're talking about are really cheap audio interfaces.
yeah,
The Behringer one is cheap, and I'm surprised that they even make a four input for that cheap. That's a
yeah,
that's a steal. Even that two input one that I show you for that cheap, that's a steal.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's not expensive and it's cheap and it works. You know, the one thing that I wouldn't skimp out on are quality mics.
Hmm.
That is where you're going to see the amount of money you put into it is directly going to affect the quality of the audio you're going to get. Is with
Cool.
microphones and the industry standard SM57. Nobody's ever going to tell you that's a bad mic.
Mhm.
It's $100, but man, I've heard stories of people using those on stage as a hammer and then setting them up in front of an amp and they still work. They're workhorses. The thing you can give those to your great grandkids and it'll still work.
All right, cool. Well, Brant, you good?
I feel great, man. A lot of
Good.
good information. Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Some good insights. I've been having a hard time finding something so detailed. There's usually some part where somebody just skimps over and then, goes straight into the DAW or something. And you're like, well, how did that connect? So
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And you know what I forgot to say, Brant, was before I said anything, I forgot to say, all right, now I'm gonna show you. Would you like me to share? I remember you said that in one of your videos because you worked at the school. It's like, what about the Explorer? Would you like me to share?
Yeah. Don't keep me waiting, man.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the phone?
All right, my
That's right,
brothers.
it's over there.
Well, Keith, man, I can't thank you enough for letting us invade your home. I know it's recording night for you, man, and just showing us your rig and your process, and man, it's very helpful for me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you both have my email addresses. feel free to shoot me any questions you have. And if we need to hop on again sometime, just let me know. I just want to help as much as possible. So, that's why I teach, right? On
Yeah.
YouTube, because the little things I learn, I don't want people to have to pay for this stuff. If I know
Yeah.
something, I'm not sure. It's music, right?
Yeah. Well, I did watch a lot of vids, man, but like Brant said, none of them were and we've been on here a minute, right? We're at like an hour of, if we took out all the pregame stuff, but nothing was this comprehensive. Like, let me walk you through the room and let me walk you through this. So I thought it was very, very helpful. Maybe I've recorded the time. We'll post it to the channel and maybe it'll help somebody else. And if they have any questions, we will direct them to you.
Well, as always, wherever you are on your guitar journey, I pray it's a long, smooth, safe, joy-filled ride for you, Jack. Rock on with your bad selves, everybody. We'll catch you down the road.